This episode is brought to you by Americas Rehab Campus. Get on the road to recovery with the best rehab in beautiful Arizona. Dial 1-833-272-7342. That's 1-833-ARC-REHAB.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are now tuned in to the ARCast.
Good morning. Thank you so much for tuning in to the ARCast. My name is Buddha, and I am here today. It is a beautiful day. I reached out to my homegirl. She hit me up on Facebook. She said that she wanted to come through and share her testimony with us, and it's been quite a few years since I've had an opportunity to talk with her again. I'm very grateful that she's in the studio with me. So ladies and gentlemen, please get up out your seat and give a huge round of applause to our new friend, Miss Michelle Bailey. Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I am doing good. So you're going to have to refresh my memory on how long it has been since you've been here. It's been a long time.
Since I've been a client here, it was 4 years ago.
4 years ago.
This month it will be 4 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And how has your life been?
So much better.
Yeah.
It's been so much more steady, stable, I guess is the word for it.
Man, that's incredible. You know, I'm very thankful that you decided to come through and share your testimony with us. I know it's not the easiest thing to do, to sit in front of a microphone and just start blabbing.
Right.
But no, we're definitely happy to have you. So 4 years ago, let me see, that was 2019.
I came in 2020.
Okay. 2020. Oh man, you were here during COVID?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a rough period.
Yes, it was.
What month in 2020 did you come?
January.
Oh, wow. So that was right at the beginning of that. So you got to see when the whole facility and everything changed up.
Yeah.
I'm really, really happy to hear that we're even talking about it in the past tense, because I remember during that time, I was so stressed, not knowing what the heck was going to happen. I was eating like crap. That was a very, very crazy time. So, okay, 2020. Are you from Tucson? Are you born here?
Yes.
Yeah?
I was born and raised.
Born and raised. What side of town?
Central. 85716.
85716.
Grant and Alvernon.
Okay. Oh, yeah. That's a rough spot right there.
Yep.
Did you have any siblings growing up?
Yes, I have a younger brother. He's about 2 years younger than me and my sister, and I have an identical twin sister.
Okay. And how was your life growing up? Did you have a good childhood?
I did. In my opinion, I had a good childhood. My biological dad, at one point, he was an alcoholic and a drug addict, and he was abusive toward my mom.
Okay.
But she ended up leaving when we were 5, and my brother was, no, actually we were 2, and my brother was a couple months old.
Okay. So up until that point, your mom was with him. Do you have any relationship with your biological father?
Not anymore. I would have liked to, but he actually passed away 6 months ago due to fentanyl overdose.
Really? Wow. Okay. So growing up with your siblings and your identical sister, did your mom struggle with any types of addiction or anything like that?
No, my mom worked 2 jobs to care for us. She would have dinner in the crock pot when we got home from school.
Yeah. And
she worked very hard.
Yeah. And how was that growing up? I know it's, thinking about it now, my mom was a single parent. It's almost hard to fathom how one single person can do all of those things.
Yeah.
And I always go back to that song. Have you ever heard that song, Dear Mama by Tupac? Mm-hmm. When he says, Mama made miracles every Thanksgiving. I always think about that. Because like you said, whether it's a crock pot or whatever it may be, like having dinner on the table is it's crazy to think that she was even able to do that.
Yeah. My sister and I were pretty good kids for the most part. It was hard watching my mom struggle with my younger brother because he had anger at the time. Yeah. And he got into alcohol at a young age, like 12.
Wow.
So.
And you guys all have the same biological father?
Yes.
So how long did that last where it was just you guys and your mom? Was that for a long time? Did she end up getting with anyone else?
Yeah, it was for quite a long time. She started dating my stepdad. I think we were about 9 or 10, maybe even earlier than that.
Okay.
And he was there for us as we grew up.
That's good.
And he passed away also in 2009 of emphysema.
And what did your mom, what was her like, what did she say when you guys asked her about your dad? Was she pretty open about the alcoholism?
Yes, she was. She taught us at a very young age that it could be hereditary, genetics, and the addiction being genetic.
Wow. It seems that your mom did the best that she could to try and make sure that you and your siblings were raised in a good environment.
Right.
And then you said when your stepdad came into the picture, he was a caring person as well. So you guys had that support.
He taught us no drug is a free drug. And that's something that I'll get into later as far as that goes, what he taught us, because I knew to say no to drugs, and how I fell into addiction was a whole different way.
Okay. And how did, I'm just curious because I think we just had a person in here, we were talking about, when we have a father that's not in the picture or a mother that's not in the picture. I think for men and women, they kind of are affected by it differently. And specifically in what you said regarding your younger brother having a hard time with it, did his behavior get a little bit better once your stepdad got into the picture?
Yeah, it did. His behavior definitely improved, and he's one of the best people that I know. He's a lot like me. He's very calm, Aurora, and believes in kindness, and loves to make people happy.
That's cool. Okay, so that's good. All right, so we got a picture of that. And as far as like the schooling and stuff goes, how were you guys in school? How were you specifically? Were you a good student?
I was a very good student. I was extremely shy, and I think it was possibly because of the abuse from my biological dad. I don't remember anything from then.
Okay.
But I couldn't even get the words out at school.
Really? And when you say abuse from your biological father, was that like a lot of physical abuse because of him?
Towards my mom.
Yeah, okay, just towards your mom. So you went to school. Did you end up graduating?
No.
No? Did you do sports, anything like that?
I did like track at school, and I was pretty good at it, but I ended up just falling into the scene of started out with weed and moved on to drinking alcohol for the most part. And I didn't end up taking pills till way later.
Okay. And how old were you when you first started experimenting?
With the weed, I was 14.
What was it that made you want to try that? Knowing what you said about, no drug is a free drug. Were you afraid of it at all, or was it just?
I think it was peer pressure. And I don't know. I think it was mainly peer pressure.
Damn friends,
doing it with friends. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel you.
Same reason I started smoking cigarettes.
Yeah. You said that you did not graduate from high school.
No.
What was the reason for that? Was that just because of you getting deeper into your addiction?
Well, actually, at that time, I was not really like addicted to weed. I was just doing it, I guess, for fun.
Yeah.
But I ended up meeting a boy and getting pregnant.
Oh, really?
Oh.
How old were you at that time?
17.
And at that age, did you have the support that you felt like you needed at the time from your family when you told them?
I did from my family.
Yeah. Was this somebody that you were in a serious relationship with?
Yes.
Yeah. Planning on marrying, all of those things, staying with them forever?
Yeah.
How did that relationship work out?
We ended up getting married in 2002, I believe it was. And 2006, I left him because he was abusive toward me and my kids. A couple years after that, I got a phone call from his new fiance saying that he had did something to her daughter, sexual assault, and apparently her 13-year-old daughter. And he took off into the woods. I thought he was like coming to kill me because I was afraid of him. And he ended up hanging himself in the woods, and that's the father of my two younger children. So I ended up having to tell my son that about his father.
Oh, wow. When you met this gentleman, did you ever have concerns when you were married that there was any type of abuse like that going on with your kids?
No.
No.
At the time, I didn't. He was. That's part of the reason why I am the way I am when I talk, when I get nervous, is because, like, he has, like, all that trauma has just broken me down to where when I think about it, it just breaks me, you know?
Yeah, no, I understand.
I saw the red flags, and not for that, but for the actual abuse. But he used to always like talk bad about child molesters and call them chomos and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I didn't really understand or fathom how he could do something like that when I was told about that.
Okay.
So I definitely questioned it, and I definitely questioned my kids. My older son is 23. My younger son that I had with him is now 19. Or no, actually, he's now 21. But he has severe autism, so he can't quite express himself. So I've always wondered if that would have happened, but I wouldn't be able to.
It leaves more questions than answers. So you get that phone call. There was no communication. You guys just found out that he had passed away.
Yeah, the police were looking for him to charge him, and they found him 3 months later in a forest.
I'm so sorry to hear that. I mean, after that experience, you know, you're trying to move on with your life. You've talked to your kids about what happened. Did they have a close relationship with him before he passed?
My older one definitely did at one point, but only up until he was about 7, because his dad moved out of state, and then when I got acute leukemia in 2012, and I had to sign guardianship of my kids, and in order to prevent the abuser from getting custody, they had his rights garnished.
You know, as being a single mother, doing what you needed to do, working, doing things like that, were you still using substances at the time? Were you functioning?
When I was with him, I wasn't using any substances except for weed. I was functioning. I was working full time and going home and getting abused.
How long did that last?
About 6 years.
And after all of those things happened, when when he passed away, is that when you would say that you started doing more drugs and things like that?
Actually, what I did was I quit smoking cannabis, and I ended up leaving him within that month because it enabled me to be less passive by quitting.
Okay. After that happened, you're continuing on with your life. What ended up happening then?
After I quit cannabis and left him, I ended up falling into the fun world of drinking and became an alcoholic until I got a DUI in 2007, and I ended up doing the classes and quitting drinking.
So the DUI, I'm sure that kind of struck your world a little bit in the way that you felt having that. I mean, it's a lot of pressure, though, too, at the same time. You know, I mean, like going back to talking about your mother being a single mother. Now you're a single mother having to deal with that. It's a lot of stress. You know, it also kind of makes you wonder, like, what were you doing to refill yourself up at the end of the day when you're putting so much out in front of your kids? Did you have any type of outlet, anything like that?
Just the alcohol at the time.
Just the alcohol.
And within 6 months after leaving my ex-husband, my son was diagnosed with severe autism.
Did that add to your stress as well?
Definitely. I didn't know what autism was when he was diagnosed, but he would try to go outside to play with real cars and wouldn't say a word. So it was terrifying. You know, having a child with autism is very hard.
So you started drinking. Was that your drug of choice? Was that like
at that time? Yes.
Yeah.
And when I was drinking was when the first time I ever kind of like dibble-dabbled into taking opiates, Percocet for fun, or for recreational.
You never took them. You were never prescribed. It was just like just to kind of try them.
I would have like teeth pulled, and in the past, I would never even need them or take them when I had teeth pulled. So I'd have them in my cabinets.
Just backed up, supply.
I didn't even know they were like worth anything because I was at the time, like beforehand, I was with my abusive first husband, and I didn't know anything like I didn't even know about text messaging.
Oh, wow.
By 2006.
Wow. So you were drinking. You said when you got the DUI that you stopped that?
Yes.
You did. Okay. But at this point, had your opiate addiction started to develop?
I think that's when it started, was like the first couple times that I had taken it for recreational.
Yeah.
And then I ended up having surgeries.
Oh, wow. Okay. So what happened after that? I mean, it seems like you were doing pretty good. When did you start getting deeper into your addiction? How did all that occur?
I had a foot surgery in 2009, right before, or actually 2008, right before I got pregnant with my third son.
Okay.
And I had a cesarean with him. Then 2009, I had the following foot done. And then I had 2 carpal tunnel surgeries on my hands.
Oh, no.
And so I was pretty much already addicted by then.
And had you ever had to deal with getting anything off of the streets, or did you have a pretty steady stream of actual pills?
Yeah, the way it started out was like I had, my monthly prescriptions, and if I would run out early and I would be in pain and complaining about it in front of somebody, they would offer me one of theirs, and then I would pay them back with mine. And it's a vicious circle of always helping everybody else back and forth.
Okay.
And not having anything, and being sick and feeling good and being sick and feeling better and being sick.
Yeah. So, from what I hear when you're telling me your story, it's like, other than your father being the alcoholic and kind of learning about his addiction then, it was never really like something that you considered yourself to be. Like you said, you just used cannabis, you would do things recreational. It wasn't until the surgeries and you started noticing the getting sick and feeling better.
I still remember the day that I thought to myself, do I have a problem?
Really?
I think everybody remembers that day.
Yeah, take us back to that time. What happened?
It was just because I was taking more than I should at a time, and then running out, and I just knew that I had a problem at that point. You kind of ask yourself, but you don't want to believe it.
Yeah.
But you want to, like, a lot of people want to say, oh, I have a prescription, so I just take them for pain. But they probably do, like, some people do run out and don't admit that they have a problem.
Yeah.
Even just because it's a prescribed medication. And I realized that I had a problem because I knew, I felt like I couldn't function without it.
It's almost like the prescription almost enables you to make excuses sometimes. Like,
Right.
The doctor, we just talked about this yesterday, the doctor who cares about me and knows what he's doing prescribed this, so it shouldn't be a problem.
Right.
You hear people that are using like drugs off of the street. It's like, no, I wouldn't do that. I have this prescription here and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. And numerous times I tried to like wean myself off and quit by myself, and it never worked.
Never.
It just doesn't work like that.
Had you had any experience with like recovery or the world of it at that point?
No, I was deathly afraid to go get recovery because I'm a single mother and I didn't want to lose my child by asking for help.
Yeah, it's scary.
Yeah.
And just like you said with the autism, I mean, there's resources out there. You just have to ask for them, right? And so you continued to do that. Did it ever get to the point where you had to get things off of the street, where you couldn't get your prescriptions anymore?
I never got cut off of my prescriptions. When I came here, I still had them. I mean, the pain center like violated me for coming here, but I never called them again after they told me that. So
wow. So
I was like, wow. Yeah, exactly.
Man. So when you initially came to ARC, was that your first experience with recovery?
Yes.
Completely. The first experience. What made you pick up that phone?
Well, I had been struggling for a long time, and I really wanted to get the courage to get the help, and and I ended up doing an intake for my mental health and talking to Mike McIntosh over there at Community Partners.
Uh-huh.
And I confided in him because his aurora was welcoming and non-judgmental, and he had compassion about what I was talking to him about, so I felt like I could talk to him.
That's good.
And when I told him, he said, we need to get you some help, and within a day, he had the referral authorized.
Wow. And your kids, how old were they at the time when you came?
My two older ones, my oldest was an adult. My second one was almost an adult, but he still lives with my mom ever since I got cancer.
Okay.
And my youngest one that lives with me, I made arrangements for his dad's aunt to care for him while I was in here.
So I know you said before you came that you were concerned that they would take your kids away if they found out they had a problem. What was the reality of it when you told, I'm guessing you had to tell your kids what you were going to do. What ended up happening?
I ended up actually signing guardianship of my youngest son to his aunt while I came to get help.
Okay.
So that I could focus, and I appreciate her greatly for that, so that I could focus on a full recovery.
And your other kids, were they very supportive?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's one of those things too, where I don't know if this was the case with you, but we hear this a lot where people will say like, they tried to act like there wasn't a problem. I'm guessing because of the relationship you had with your kids that they must have known that you weren't doing good and they were probably happy that you were willing to come in here.
Yeah, definitely.
So you stepped into ARC. This is January of 2020. Couldn't have been probably a worser time. Right. Well, I mean, I guess it all considers on how you look at it, right?
Right.
Because, I mean, could you imagine living in the situation and the stress and all of that, and then having to deal with all of these other things that are going on in the world?
Honestly, I think it was the best time for me. The main reason I came here and even confided in Mike and went and got the mental health is because I never even went to the hospital for this, but I got what I thought was an oxycodone off the street from somebody, and it wasn't.
Oh, no.
It was a fentanyl. And I split it with my ex at the time, I'm not going to really talk about. He just he wasn't a husband or anything.
No, I got you.
And we only both did a quarter of the thing, and we both almost died on the floor. So I didn't even tell my family about that. Actually, my twin, I told everything about my addiction. I was honest with her about that.
Okay. I mean, I know you had said that you had never had to get pills or anything off of you never ran out of your prescription. What ended up happening?
I ran out of my prescription.
Oh, you did?
I would loan people some of mine. They would borrow some of mine.
Oh, okay.
And once in a while, I would have to get them off the street like that.
Oh, okay. And you had never had an issue, though, up until that point?
Most of the time, I was giving people rides to get theirs off the streets, and they would kick me down.
Okay, but up until that point, you had never gotten fentanyl?
No.
Did you end up overdosing?
Yes. And, I mean, we didn't call a paramedic or anything. I'm lucky I woke up, but definitely.
That's very, very scary.
The both of us were on the floor vomiting and laughing at the same time, which is pretty disgusting to say, but that's the fact of the matter when you're in that state of mind.
Yeah.
You're like, what the hell did we just do?
Was that a huge wake-up call for you? Like the next day? Yeah?
Yeah, definitely.
And you came in here.
I don't want my child to find me like that.
Yeah, no. I mean, and it makes sense, too. Like, I know you say it's kind of a disgusting thing to think of, but honestly, I mean, you could what else do you do to cope with it during that situation, besides panic, you know what I mean, or something like that? And thank God that nothing worse happened to you had it been half the pill or something that you did versus a quarter of it. It's been a horrible epidemic, even more than COVID ever was. I mean, shit, we're losing so many people to that drug. It's scary.
It was getting harder and harder to find the actual prescriptions, unless I knew that person and knew they went and picked it up.
So you came in January of 2020, so I'm guessing this was late 2019 when this happened to you?
Yes.
What did you feel, for anyone out there who may be listening that's never ever thought of coming into a place like this? What were some of your fears and what was the reality when you walked into those doors?
My number one fear is just the withdrawal symptoms and the illnesses and failing aside from that.
Yeah.
But when I came here, it was it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, even through the detox. I went to the detox on next door here.
Yeah.
And then I came here.
The one connected right here, our detox? I think one of the coolest things for me thinking back of being on the floor was you see the fear in people when they come in. That's not the cool part. That would be really horrible. That's not the cool part. But like you see, when people come in through those doors and they're scared, or family members are with them, and you could tell that they don't know what's going to happen, But seeing the relief in their face when they meet somebody here and they finally get that comforting feeling like you made that right decision, that's always one of those feelings that I cherish, because I think that's what our job is. As a faithful man, especially, like I feel like we're supposed to meet people in the darkness and bring them into the light. You came through to the program, and how long was your total stay from detox to when you left? How long were you here?
I was only here for 2 weeks.
You were only here for 2 weeks?
It feels like a family. When I came here, I felt like I could feel comfortable in the community of ARC.
Yeah.
And the main thing that I learned here is about myself. The basic life skills that I didn't even realize I had forgotten.
Man, was that your last time of ever coming in? Was then?
Yes.
And you have been sober ever since?
Yes.
So you were only here for 2 weeks. Were you ready before you came? Like, did you know that you were not going to use again, or was there something that happened here that allowed you to think that way?
I think it was a combination of both. I was definitely, I was desperate to get as far as away from that as I could, because I was just tired of suffering.
Yeah.
Another thing is that I was told by the doctors I had something called opiate-induced hyperalgia. And the way they explained it to me is that you're born with 2 opiate receptors, and when you're on opiates long-term like I was, your brain starts to grow more receptors. And those receptors are what sends pain signals down your body telling you have pain. So the opiates being used long-term was causing me to feel pain more than I would have without them.
I've heard that before. I feel that it actually makes like pain worse. Right. And that's what it's called, huh?
Yes.
Did you have any sense of like a higher power or faith or anything before you came in here?
Yeah, I have some sense. I wasn't like raised in the church, but I do believe in the higher power.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Would you say that played a significant role in your recovery?
Definitely.
Yeah.
There is a strange story about that. Before I was diagnosed with leukemia, I had been struggling as a single mother by myself, off and on, because my younger son's father was off and on with me.
Yeah.
So I was very depressed. I was suicidal. I would call my sister crying, suicidal. I had relapsed on alcohol. And so my sister said, why don't you come stay the weekend with me? So she ended up taking me to church with her on the following Sunday. And they were asking if anybody needed prayers. And my sister pulled me up saying that I needed prayers. So they got in a circle with me and holding my sister and Marilyn's hand, and they all prayed for me. And they prayed that God would save me, and within like 2 weeks, I had been diagnosed with acute leukemia. Within 2 weeks from going to that church. And I actually didn't even really believe before that. But after, I was diagnosed with a 5% chance to live. And I was definitely struggling with my son with severe autism, was at the time getting in the bath with my new baby.
Yeah.
Like he would get in the bath at 3 a.m. and my little baby would be in the bath with him. And he would not be able to save him if he went under the water.
Yeah.
So I was living in depression, fear, suicidal, ended up relapsing. So they were all holding my hands around the circle and praying for God to save me. And I feel like because of that and because of the leukemia diagnosis with a 5% chance to live 30 days, the whole reason I signed guardianship, I feel like that's God's way of saving me from the depression I was in. I was very, very depressed, suicidal, and just had way too much in my hands.
But I mean, also like hearing you say that, I'm sure you could imagine.
A weight by,
yeah,
by the cancer, by me being able to actually sign guardianship of my kids to different family members, and
also there was a peace in that.
Right, and right now, like I only have one of my sons, so it allows me to devote 100% to him, and my other son with severe autism that stayed with my mom.
Yeah.
He's still there because that's actually in the best interest for him to not be moving back and forth. So he's actually a young adult now, and he's in a workability program.
Oh, man.
I do feel like that was God's way of saving me.
It's so interesting to me to hear, I think I try and put myself into your shoes. Like if that was me that got that diagnosis or something, like let's say, I had my family members praying over me, and then the next week when things are supposed to get better, I get this diagnosis. I would be like, I wouldn't know what the hell to do. I wouldn't know what I wouldn't know what to think. I would think probably like it was all BS or something, like how could this happen? But
that's how I thought at the time.
Yeah, that's what I can only imagine. So the way that you're seeing it now is like God made it happen for a reason. That's not how you initially saw it when you had that diagnosis.
Right, and yeah, exactly. And the way I look back at it is, had all that not happened, I probably could have been suicidal, especially with alcohol. Cause I don't make good decisions on alcohol. So.
Man, well, thank you for sharing that. I mean, that's an incredible part of the testimony that I feel people need to hear. Is sometimes answered prayers that you get from the Lord are not necessarily what you would expect.
Exactly.
And sometimes, and I've also heard people say that God is very patient when we're not, and he doesn't move as fast as we'd like him to, at certain times.
Yeah, and to this day, I still do my counseling, and I would like to get to the relapse prevention classes again. Although I did that relapse prevention for probably a good 8 months after I got my certificate for it, just because, so I definitely still maintain my mental health and my physical health.
Wow.
Since I got sober.
No, that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
So when you left here, it was just a new state of mind, just a new way that you were thinking. You were already ready. It seemed like even before you walked in those doors, kind of.
It was a lot of work because I did live in the neighborhood of Grant and Almanon, and I also grew up over there, and I know so many people.
Yeah.
So I had to distance myself from. It wasn't just quitting the addiction; it was quitting the lifestyle. Man. Getting away from everybody involved in that lifestyle, even if I cared or loved about them.
So what would you say, because I think the thing that makes people's testimonies so valuable is the fact of, just like a fingerprint, every single person's testimony is different. Sometimes it's significantly different. Sometimes it's just barely different. But I think, we've talked about it in the past that once you get a certain amount of sobriety behind you, that it becomes like a fitted suit. So what works for you may not work for the next person. Right. To be so strong-minded, to only have to be here for 2 weeks, get back to your normal life, hearing all of the stories that you talked about, and I'm sure the stress of having, knowing that you had to be there for your son and all of these things like that for all of your kids. What advice, would you give somebody that's afraid of cutting off those people in their life or that lifestyle? They don't know any difference.
Sometimes it's even hard for me. I still have people reach out to me from the past. But the best advice I could give is, if you want to keep somebody at a distance and not put yourself in that situation, keep them on Facebook or something.
Yeah. Because
the social media really does help me keep people at a distance, but without outing them altogether,
Yeah.
But I kindly tell them I can't. I don't do that anymore, and if they continue, I block them. I had to just tell everybody, look, you're struggling like I am, and if you want the best for me, you don't want to struggle either,
Yeah.
So please kindly respect my sobriety. And if you don't, you're out of my life.
That's good. Setting those firm boundaries.
Exactly. And I truly believe the program you guys use here, I actually go over it often.
Yeah.
Still to this day, it's a part of my relapse prevention plan for myself. But the matrix model is amazing.
That's good. And how have the relationships in your life changed since you've gotten sober?
They've definitely changed for the better. They've improved a lot. I wasn't really like the type to steal or rob people's houses or anything like that. But I was still dishonest at times. And I think my mom's a whole lot happier and more grateful that I got to where I am today.
Yeah.
So is my identical twin, because she couldn't imagine losing her twin either, and she had to fear that every day. And now I'm not gonna say like who, but I have 2 personal family members. Actually, I believe 3.
Really?
But that are now addicted. And it's hard for me to see them like that and think that was how my mom felt.
Yeah.
When I was addicted. So.
And it also, too, I mean, the fact of you leading by that example now for, I don't know if any of your other siblings had any substance abuse or anything like that, but the fact that you're living by that example is the exact way that we should be, because it allows people that hope of knowing that it is possible, regardless of the circumstance, regardless of where you come from. We can change a little thought process and the thought pattern and actually be on the other side of it versus allowing it to keep us down. I heard you say that the thing that helped you was the matrix model. You are the first person that I can think of off the top of my head who's ever mentioned the matrix model. What is that?
The matrix model is an integrated program that comes with worksheets that include things like healthy relationships, healthy boundaries, anything that you would have a class here for. And they come with worksheets that you do, and it'll ask you, what is your trigger for your addiction? And you write these things down, and it helps you to recognize and learn things about yourself that you might not have realized that you weren't paying attention. Your triggers and what does and doesn't work for you to keep you from using again. It also teaches you relapse prevention. And what relapse prevention is like when you start, it teaches you how to recognize a pre-relapse, which are the things that can put you into a relapse. And it also teaches you how to redirect from a relapse so that you don't relapse.
Okay, so I apologize. I have heard of that. I haven't heard of the matrix model specifically, but I have heard of like chances of you relapsing are going to be depending on certain things that you're doing and thinking and acting. So for like anybody who's unfamiliar with the world of recovery, what would be some of those red flags for somebody that's about to relapse? Do you remember them?
Yeah, for me, it would just be like anything stressful, like a traumatic event could be triggering for a relapse. Breakups could be triggering for a relapse. It also kind of teaches you to like not get in a relationship in the first year of sobriety, because
that's an important one.
Brain will release dopamine. Like, so if I have a pre-relapse and I want to redirect, I'm gonna go call my counselor, or I'm gonna call my sister and talk to her, or I'm going to remove myself from the situation if I can.
Yeah. No, I think that's important for anybody who's listening that doesn't that's never, ever even thought about coming to a place like this, or finally, maybe the podcast is allowing them to realize that maybe they are dealing with substance issues and they want to come and check themselves in, just kind of giving them a way of being able to think about certain things. Because I think you have to get these coping skills to be able to counter or parry, anytime an attack is coming at you, that could cause you to relapse. And I think the one that you said that stands out to me the most is getting into the relationship less than a year of you being sober, because I think that happens more than anything.
Yes. And then people will have a breakup and end up relapsing. So yeah. So when you actually pay attention to the worksheets, and you complete them, and you do them yourself. I think what it is it's like a tailored service plan for your sobriety that goes tailored to your triggers and your addiction and your way of coping. And everyone's different. So another thing about the matrix model is it's not the 12 steps. It's not based on God. So anybody can do it if they, don't like the 12 steps.
Yeah.
But I think it's just mainly like an integrated approach on tailoring your sobriety.
No, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, it's cool to know that, that's what stuck with you. That's what really allows you to continue to stay sober and do what you're doing now. I wanted to ask you this before I forget. I know you said that you struggled with a cancer diagnosis.
Yes.
How is that? Are you in remission?
Yes, I'm in remission.
Awesome.
I was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia in 2012, and they gave me like a 5% chance to live that 30 days. So I ended up having to sign guardianship of my kids over, and somehow I survived it. So I'm grateful to be here.
Wow.
But I came out of the cancer center like addicted, obviously addicted because I had high doses in there of pain meds. I was in the induction chemo for 30 days straight, and then I would do like a week round, and I would have to be hospitalized for that week, and then I'd go home for about a week, and then I'd get pneumonia or something else from the chemo. So I was basically in the hospital for a year and having
oh my God, I couldn't
biopsies in my hips and morphine IV and oxycodone. And
wow.
At one point, I was having people bring extra oxycodone to the hospital, and nobody knew.
Man,
my addiction was bad.
And that's 2012. So that's years before you even thought about coming in here.
Yeah.
Man, what's one thing that you would like to share with anybody? Like, for example, what was your reason for wanting to come in and share your testimony today?
I wanted to let people know that if they're thinking that they're not going to get to that point, or I didn't believe I could ever get to a point where, I was taking handfuls of blues at a time at one point. I didn't think there was ever going to be a point that I could get to where I am today. So just believe in yourself, give yourself a chance, and accept the opportunity that's offered to you.
That's awesome.
Want to make sure that people know they're not alone out there, and just because somebody's in recovery doesn't mean they're gonna start getting hot-headed and go against people that are addicted. If anybody wants to reach out to me, I can lead them to the phone number to ARC, or I'm willing to help anybody that I can in any way I can with the resources.
How important would you say it is to be involved in the recovery community to keep your sobriety?
It's extremely important. My youngest son is 14. I'm kind of really devoted to raising him and amending our relationship right now. But after that, I plan on going into this type of work.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, you let us know when you're ready, man, and we'll make sure to throw that application on top of the stack.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up to our homegirl, Miss Michelle Bailey. Thank you so much for coming through and sharing your testimony with us. Remember, each and every single story that's out there, regardless of where you're from or what you do, man, it's extremely valuable. Our goal in life is to be able to help motivate and to inspire others and to lead by example and help others, especially in this world of recovery. If you, a friend or a loved one or somebody would love to come on the show and speak your testimony, you guys can go ahead and send me an email, the ARCast6944@gmail. It'll be all in the show notes of the episode. And you guys could, I'll hit you back up directly, whatever it may be. But thank you so much for tuning in, and we will definitely see you on the next one. You guys have a good week. Much love and God bless. Peace.
God bless.
There you go. What's going on, everybody? This is Buddha from the ARCast, and I just wanted to thank you for checking out this week's episode. It means a lot, and if you could share it with a friend or a loved one, somebody you need in recovery, or maybe somebody who just needs that little bit of extra positivity in their life, we'd greatly appreciate it. If you would like to join us here on the ARCast, either in the studio live or online, hit us up. The links are down in the show notes of this episode, and on there, you can find direct links to our main website here at Americas Rehab Campus and all of our social media platforms. Follow us. We keep the posts positive and motivational, focused on recovery, health, and wellness. As you know, in this modern day and age, we need as much love as possible, y'all. And as always, if you or somebody you know is in need of substance abuse treatment, please don't hesitate to give us a call. We're open 24 hours a day, and our direct phone number is 1-833-272-7342. Once again, that phone number is 1-833-272-7342. I hope you all have a beautiful rest of your day. Much love and God bless. Peace.